Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
Blue Jays Nation, we need to talk about something that's been building momentum behind the scenes, and it's not the kind of conversation anyone expected to be having this winter. José Berríos might actually be on the move. I'm not talking about speculation or clickbait rumors. I'm talking about genuine trade discussions that are happening right now, conversations involving real numbers, real teams, and real consequences for how this roster looks heading into next season. This isn't noise. This is legitimate front office activity that could completely reshape Toronto's rotation before spring training even starts. What makes this situation so compelling is the combination of factors all converging at once. You've got a pitcher who just came off a season filled with both promise and frustration. You've got a significant financial commitment still on the books. And you've got multiple organizations quietly running the numbers, trying to figure out if there's a deal that makes sense for everyone involved. When you put all of that together, you realize this isn't some wild theory. This is the reality of modern baseball, where every contract gets evaluated, every asset gets measured, and sometimes the moves that seem unthinkable in June become inevitable by December. Let me give you the full picture here, because understanding this situation requires looking at both sides honestly. José Berríos is still owed $67 million over the next 3 years. That's real money, the kind that shows up on balance sheets and affects how much flexibility a team has to make other moves. For some fans, that number alone makes them think no trade is possible, that the contract is untouchable. But that's not how front offices think. They see that number and start calculating scenarios. What if we retain 20%, 30%? What if we take back a contract going the other way? Suddenly that $67 million becomes negotiable, and negotiable means possible. The Blue Jays understand this reality better than most people give them credit for. They know that moving Berríos isn't about dumping him or admitting defeat. It's about recognizing that the market exists, that other teams value what he brings, and that creating flexibility might serve the organization better than holding on to every dollar of that contract. This is chess, not checkers. You're thinking multiple moves ahead, weighing the cost of keeping him against the value of what you might get back, both in terms of prospects and financial breathing room. Here's what makes Berríos valuable despite everything. When he's healthy, he takes the ball every fifth day without fail. In an era where starting pitchers are increasingly fragile, where innings limits and pitch counts dominate every conversation, having a guy who consistently gives you quality starts matters enormously. He protects your bullpen from getting overworked. He provides structure to your rotation. He prevents that cascading effect where one injury leads to another because you're asking relievers to cover extra innings they weren't built to handle. Front office executives understand this value intimately, even if it doesn't always show up in highlight reels or generate social media buzz. The Los Angeles Angels make so much sense as a potential landing spot that it's almost too obvious. Look at their projected rotation for next season. Yusei Kikuchi and Jose Soriano give them something to build around. But after that, everything gets questionable fast. They've got arms with injury histories, young guys who haven't proven they can handle a full season workload, and a general lack of dependability. For an organization that's shown willingness to spend money and take calculated risks on veterans, Berríos fits perfectly. You're getting a former all-star at a reduced cost through salary retention, someone who immediately stabilizes the middle of your rotation and gives you a foundation to work from. It's not a desperate move, it's a smart one. San Francisco presents a completely different but equally compelling scenario. The Giants have Logan Webb at the top, and Robbie Ray, when healthy, gives them another solid option. But after those two, depth becomes a serious concern. They don't have that reliable third starter who can hold things together over 160-plus innings. What makes this particularly interesting is Oracle Park. That ballpark is one of the most pitcher-friendly environments in all of baseball. The dimensions, the marine layer, everything about it suppresses offense and makes life easier for pitchers, especially guys who've struggled with giving up home runs. For Berríos, pitching half his games there could represent a genuine reset, a chance to rebuild his numbers in conditions that maximize his strengths. Buster Posey running baseball operations adds another layer because he's shown he'd rather make smart, value-driven moves than overpay in free agency just to make a splash. Then you've got the New York Mets, and with them there's no need for subtlety. They need starting pitching badly. Their rotation has holes, and they're not the kind of holes you can fill with minor league depth or hoping prospects develop faster than expected. They need proven arms who can step in and contribute immediately. Berrios gives them exactly that. A pitcher who's going to give you close to 200 innings, keep your ERA around 4, and show up every fifth day without drama. Those kinds of arms are increasingly rare, and for a franchise with the Mets' financial resources, absorbing most of his contract isn't a burden. It's a strategic allocation of resources toward immediate competitiveness. Let's break down what this actually means from different perspectives, because that's where the real analysis lives. From an optimistic Toronto viewpoint, a well-structured trade that includes salary retention creates both immediate and long-term benefits. You ease future financial commitments, potentially bringing the payroll down to a more manageable level. You acquire organizational assets, whether that's prospects, young major league ready talent, or simply shedding money that can be reallocated toward other needs. This isn't about giving up on competing. It's about creating more pathways to sustain that competition over multiple years. The cautious scenario acknowledges that markets don't always cooperate with what you think should happen. Maybe other teams don't value Berrios quite as highly as Toronto hopes. Maybe the salary retention required to make a deal work ends up being more than management is comfortable with. In that case, you keep him for another year, let him rebuild value by staying healthy and pitching well, and reassess next winter when the landscape might look completely different. There's no shame in that approach. Sometimes the best move is recognizing when the market isn't offering what you need and being patient. From a pure front office decision-making perspective, this is cold calculation at its finest. You're balancing cost against production, weighing immediate competitive needs against long-term roster construction, and trying to maximize value in a system where every dollar matters. The Blue Jays' competitive window depends heavily on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette being in their prime years. If moving Berrios creates space to add impact bats or shore up other areas of weakness, that calculation might favor making a trade even if it feels uncomfortable emotionally. What this really comes down to is a fundamental question about organizational direction. Do you value the known quantity, the pitcher who's going to give you stability in innings, even if he's not an ace? Or do you convert that stability into flexibility, betting that the assets you get back or the financial space you create will generate more overall value? Neither answer is automatically correct. It depends entirely on how the rest of your roster is constructed, what opportunities exist in the market, and how confident you are in your ability to replace those innings through other means. The reality is that José Berríos' trade discussions represent something bigger than one pitcher changing uniforms. They represent the Blue Jays wrestling with their identity and direction. Are they all in on this core, willing to absorb every dollar to maximize the current window? Or are they taking a step back, looking at the bigger picture and recognizing that sometimes strategic flexibility creates more paths to sustained success than stubbornly holding on to every piece? So here's what I want from you. Do you think Toronto should genuinely explore moving Berrios if the right offer materializes, or is he too valuable as the anchor of this rotation to even consider trading? Drop your comments, because this is exactly the kind of decision that divides fan bases and defines how front offices get evaluated years down the line. Make sure you subscribe and hit notifications, because this offseason is going to be anything but quiet, and decisions like this one are going to shape what the Blue Jays look like for years to come.